Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Carve Your Own Fucking Path, a podcast made to inspire you to create a life and business on your own terms. You'll hear candid interviews with people who have boldly decided to blaze their own trail, and the occasional solo show with me, your host. I'm Willa McDonough, on-camera coach, storyteller, and remote video producer. 5 years ago, I moved from my home base of San Francisco to the coast of Portugal, taking a big leap into the unknown. Some called it courageous. I called it carving my own fucking path. Today, I live in Lisbon and run a business that elevates your online presence, helping you show up confidently on camera to create videos that showcase your brand and personality so you can get more visibility and attract clients by being yourself. If you're just starting out in business or you've been doing it for a while, you're sure to pick up tidbits of actionable advice and hopefully feel inspired by stories from people who have chosen the unconventional and sometimes messy path. And if you've been waiting for a sign to start carving your own fucking path, this is it. I'm so happy you're here. Today, I have a very special guest, the Monika Casey.
Hi.
Welcome. Monika is joining us from Los Angeles. It's a bit of an I knew you when story. Monika and I went to high school together 20 plus years ago, the San Francisco Bay Area. And I was a drama nerd. You weren't really a nerd, but I don't know. We were both in drama.
I mean, we're so lucky that we had the drama program we had too.
Totally. Yes. And you took it really serious. So you are an actress, producer, stand-up comedian, and a C+ mom. We'll hear about that later. And I have loved following you on social media over the years, pretty much, over 10 years, whenever it was.
Right. When we got on the bandwagon.
Exactly. And I distinctly remember this, maybe 15 years ago. You had gone off to college, you went to Arizona State. I remember that. And then I see a video on YouTube of you doing stand-up. And I don't know who showed it to me. And I was like, wow, that is amazing. That takes a lot of cojones to do that. So since then, I've been dying to see you live.
Oh my God. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. I can't believe that was so long ago.
So long ago. So yeah, you've been carving your own fucking path for about 2 decades.
Yeah.
In LA.
Yep.
And you're such a good example. And I'm so excited to hear more details of your story, because what can seem like an overnight success, you're in movies, you're on the radio, you are doing stand-up all over the place. Like what seems like an overnight success is at least 10 years in the making.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I feel like the more I read articles about people or hear things, it's kind of like that for everyone, but we always look at other people and just make assumptions and judge and compare ourselves. And you gotta find out the details.
Exactly. And yeah, so you've been doing it, and take us back. Okay. So high school, you were into drama, and I do remember, I have one other memory, many, it's a bit mostly blurry,
same.
But I remember the tattoo that you got.
Oh God, the worst. Yes. So I, again, made terrible choices as a young person. One of them being getting a tattoo with my boyfriend at the time, who was super verbally, emotionally abusive. By the way, totally underage in San Francisco, and they still tattooed us with no ID. As a mother now, I'm like, fuck those people, dicks. But what's so funny is I'm such a psychopath planner that as I was getting my tattoo, I knew that I was going to get it removed right before I went to college. I had a job at Captain Video. I worked at a video store, like Quentin Tarantino. And so, I think my tattoo cost $50, and I think to get it, and then I think it cost me $2,000 to get it removed.
Okay, so it's to let people know it was a baseball.
It was a baseball on my hip with our names signed on it. Like we were, I don't know, famous baseball players. I have no idea what. Yeah, it was so bad.
Oh my God.
And my favorite part is that after I broke up with my boyfriend, he then wrote a letter to my parents as like the tattoo owner of the shop, asking about like how my tattoo's doing and if I need to come in for retouches. Yeah, to out me to my parents. Like,
wow.
Is that not like psychological like warfare?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. So, and then, so then you went to Arizona State.
Tattoo free.
You left tattoo free, fresh start. Did you, well, tell us about that.
So like, I didn't really want to go to college, but my choices were, if I didn't go, that I would live at home with my parents, who I hated, and basically be their housekeeper slave and continue to work at the video store. Or I could and go to community college, which I knew if I stayed, I would probably like get depressed. So, then I also wasn't a very good student. So my options were limited in colleges. So I chose Arizona State because A, I knew I could get in, and B, it was just far enough away to where they couldn't like be right there. So I went, but I also, I wanted to move to LA and just start acting right away. But they were like, we're not helping you in any way. I hadn't thought far enough ahead to just save money to move here on my own and do that. And, looking back now, it's probably better that I did go to college, because I mean, who knows how many times I probably would have gotten arrested if I just moved here at 18.
Totally.
So so Arizona State was a safe place. I lived in the dorms. I didn't know if I was going to I didn't know if my parents were going to let me be a theater major right away. So I kind of just like waited until I had to choose, and then I was like, I'm doing this, and they didn't say no. So, and I was lucky enough that they could afford to pay for my education. And I worked jobs to pay for my own, whatever I needed. But, I was a theater major. I shockingly made it out in 4 years with a little summer school of puppetry and makeup classes.
Amazing.
And I feel like that was a really good, going to college taught me a lot, because, it was more about learning how to live on your own as an adult and schedule your time. And if, you didn't do things, it just only fell on you and how you felt about it. And, you do figure out how to make all these choices and kind of decide what path you want to be on.
Did you envision that you would be going to LA? And what was at that time, even before, because what did you want to be when you grew up?
I always wanted to be an actor. I remember when I was younger, my parents couldn't afford daycare, like even in the 3rd grade, like in the summers or camps. So I somehow convinced them to let me stay home. And in the summers, I would literally clean the house and watch movies all day and learn every line of dialogue in every movie and act out the scenes with my dolls. So that was always the daydream, the plan. I just didn't really know how I was going to do it. Like, I didn't know anyone in LA. My parents certainly didn't. And they were like, in their own world. So it was just kind of like, well, if you want to do it, that's like on you. But I was always doing plays, even in college, whenever I could. And that was the plan in my mind. Was I was going to graduate college, move to LA, go to the Groundlings, and then go to Saturday Night Live and be cast. And then, that would be that would be my story.
Yeah. So comedy was always something you were aiming for.
Yes. I think because that's the types of films and TV that always like filled my soul for me. And so I wanted to be part of that some way, but I didn't know how.
And then you get to LA.
Yeah, I got to LA. It was super scary. I mean, I lucked out and my friend had an aunt and uncle here that were on a cruise for a month. So we had a place to crash for the first month. And it was in a nice, like, it was in Manhattan Beach, like super gorgeous. Like, I can't imagine like trying to live there now. It's so expensive, but so yeah, so and immediately like, went looking for waitressing jobs because in your early 20s, at least for me, that was just always the easiest job to have because it's like you don't take it home with you and you just get tips and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it was funny in LA, they're like, do you have a headshot when you're applying for jobs? And I'm like, no, bitch, I just got here. Like, I'm trying to get this job so I can afford some headshots. So I'm like, I'm standing right here. Don't you want to interview me? It's just like, it was such a weird thing. And then, of course, right when you move here, when everyone meets you, they're like, oh, another actor,
Yeah.
So it's totally the cliche. But in that first couple months, like I did feel like, like you don't know where to go or what to do. And like, you just have to do your best to stay sane. And, I got a job waitressing and my roommate and I found a place and we literally lived on air mattresses and macaroni and cheese. And she had like a much better, like she was a pilot in the military. So she like had a more set, like for sure job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like she was working her way to like fly commercial. And I'm like, I'm trying to book a commercial. But yeah. So yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just wondering like what your mindset, because
like,
and I saw
it was hard because I'm, in my early 20s and, you feel kind of alone. You feel like a failure. Like, even though you're in one side of your brain, you're like, I'm doing it. I'm pursuing my dreams. And I knew for me always, like, look, I was on the verge of probably chickening out and staying in Arizona a lot longer than I should have before I moved to LA. So just moving here, it's like, okay, like it's hard to remind yourself, like, that's a win. You're doing it.
Yeah.
Cause always in my mind, I felt in my heart and soul that even if I never like made it to like, let's say like, Kate Hudson or status or whatever, the fact that you at least tried and you came here and you don't just give up right away. Like I met so many people in the first couple years of living here where they're like, that's it, I'm moving back to Iowa. And you're like, oh my God. And I'd be like, oh my God, how long have you been here? Like, how long did you give it a go for? And they're like 3 months. And I'm like, oh, bitch, that's nothing. Like like I was like, I'm at least here for 10 years, and then, so
you had the long
I always had the long
in your
haul.
mind.
Exactly. Like there's no like end game for me. And the story that I just tell myself is that, look, there's always going to be roles for every age. There's always room for enough for everybody. I mean, sometimes sure we all get jealous of other people when their careers take off maybe a little faster, but like, again, it's your path. You never know how long, you never know who you're going to meet along the way. So yeah, I always just knew that my soul would be very angry if I didn't do this.
Yep. And well, I had a stint in LA 1 year and I'm like, I'm fucking out of here because I didn't have this mindset that you had, the long game. Like it was pretty intense. And I think at the core, I just thought, I just want to have fun and do a production with people, have that, like the bond that mainly in like theater, you have this build up. And then I was just seeking that. And then I got into production, went behind the camera. So that, I definitely chose a potentially easier route, although it's easy in general. But in your case, you had, your soul was like,
like sink or swim. And look, it's like I've already lived on an air mattress for, like, as long as I feel like as long as you have a roof over your head, you're fine.
Definitely. Yeah, you have to. So gratitude.
Yes.
Talk
exactly. Yeah. I mean, I I would say it was really hard to find the gratitude in the beginning, but once I got into meditation and things like that, then which happened for me, maybe like a year after living here. But once I kind of found like, Deepak Chopra and all of these sort of like really great outlets to find gratitude and meditate and things, it does shift your perspective on everything, and it does make life and your journey easier.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, and again, I mean, I'm just going off social media for the most part. And I saw you had this picture and you have all these crystals on you. And I thought, oh, she's making fun,
No.
And then I heard your crystal in the bra thing. And in honor of this podcast right now, I have a crystal in my bra.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh my God. I love that. So yeah, tell more about that. I find it
so it's hilarious. So funny because I didn't start getting into crystals until I had my daughter. And I don't even really know. I've always loved crystals. Like as a kid, I remember like if I went anywhere and they had like those, remember how like, or you go places like even in, Arizona, especially, they have those giant like geodes broken in half or amethyst. And I just always wanted those as a kid, but they were always so expensive, or at least they seemed like it. And I just always was drawn to those pretty shiny things. And then when I had my daughter, I got a little bit more into like mediums and, psychics and things like that. But I had done like a lot of, workshops and things, and kind of started getting into Reiki and healing and things like that. And so I just sort of started acquiring like, a crystal here, a crystal there. Yeah. And then I like, there's this shop that I love in LA. There's so many, but, and I would get the little tiny ones, and I have major anxiety when I travel. So I was going on an airplane ride and I was like, you know what? I'm like, I need something for like protection and something to calm me down. And so I went into one of my shops and I got like 3 or 4 crystals, and I put like 2 under each boob. And then it just slowly became this thing where if I have like an audition or even just in general, almost every day, I'll put like a rose quartz crystal in my bra on my heart side. Just, I don't know. It just makes me feel so connected or grounded. And then somebody told me one day that the new generation of kids that have been born, I want to say since like 2012 and 14 and on right now, are called the crystal babies. Have you heard that?
Okay. Never heard that.
Crystal babies. And I thought, oh my God, holy shit, that's so weird that I have my daughter in 2014 and all of a sudden I'm like attracted, yeah. And so I don't know if it's her spirit or what her thing is that's, making me expand in this way. And our generation, we're the indigo children. Yeah. So that, of course, I went down that like internet black hole.
Yeah. I know. I had a psychic reading a year ago, roughly. And she's like, you're an indigo child. And I haven't heard that
Me
before.
either, till like a year ago.
So yeah,
it crazy. Is. So maybe it's my daughter's doing.
Definitely. Well, I mean, so clearly it's working. And I think all of these tools, you can, call them meditation. And then what else? Okay. So I mean, we're jumping around, but like, as you are in pretty much the hardest profession. I'm saying that. I think it's extreme, putting yourself out there constantly. What is the self-talk that you have?
Yes. So the self-talk, for the most part, I know has to be positive. Like, I have to be my own cheerleader, my own champion. There's things I have to tell myself, I am more than enough to fulfill my purpose, or, there's definitely days where that little naughty voice, chimes in, and the only way I can think to cancel it out is by like thinking like 10 more minutes of positive affirmations to cancel that out, but yeah, I have to remind myself that, for most of us too, we weren't always raised with a positive, story by our parents or whoever our caregivers were. So, yeah, I mean, it's just simple stuff like I am talented. I am this, I have unique gifts that, people want to receive, so I really, even when I'm driving in the car or eating a meal, sometimes you just have to have those, little things like in your back pocket to play in your mind to keep going. Because there's days where you feel, living in LA, it's beautiful and, you feel good on top of your game. And sometimes it can take like one little thing, or like recently on Valentine's Day, I got dropped by my theatrical agent. And I was like,
God.
oh shit, I just got broken up with. And like, right away, that first thought was, oh my God, does that mean I'm a terrible actor or I'm not good enough, And then I have to remind myself, like, this is a business and there's 500 other agents around the corner. I still have an amazing manager who believes in me. Sometimes for these people, it's only numbers. It's only like dollar signs and they're just only keeping that top, 3% or whatever. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's like, and being in this business too, like, even if you have agents and managers, you really have to be your own boss, and I've never like run a company before. So really most of this journey has been like also figuring out how to run myself as a company.
Yeah. Personal brand.
Yes, totally.
It is. Yeah. It's a huge undertaking. At the same time, I think the benefits, and just having that freedom is huge. And I then see that you have an online course, which is amazing because in that way, you can then be on, people's laptops.
Right.
Teaching them.
Yeah. So basically my course, it's called Fresh Off the Boat because it just made me laugh. And because that's exactly how everyone would sort of treat me when I first moved to town. But I also don't want it to seem like a bad term, but it's true. Like when you get here, you're like fresh off the boat or you're green. Everyone calls you you're green. So I really, there's, and when you're asking people, like when you first try to get into, I think, any business or industry, and you're trying to ask people how they did it in certain professions, maybe all of them, some people are really secretive about it. And I get it, because if you had to find your way on your own, sometimes people operate from a place of lack and they don't want to share how they did it or who helped them or whatever. And so I thought, I would really like to turn the tables and offer something that says like, look, this is what I've done. I'm doing okay for now. And if I can give you any secrets or insight into how and what has worked for me, I'd love to help. So that's basically my courses, because I was a theater major at Arizona State and I've become friends with so many people that were acting majors at UCLA and USC. And even in the heart of, the LA industry, they're not teaching anyone that majors in those courses the business of acting. And so that's basically what I've just created, my own little 7-part series of like, this is the business and this is how you can get ahead, hopefully a little bit faster.
It's amazing. I'm so excited to see that because, the online space, I'm definitely a fan of being able to work from anywhere. Exactly. But again, it's the teaching and teaching what you know, because there's so many people, of course, that don't know nearly as much. So do you do live classes at all? Were you teaching?
Yeah. So I actually just, this year I started teaching a class, on Melrose, and I have 9 students, and it's essentially my Fresh Off the Boat course, but we're also doing like acting, we're doing scenes on camera. So I'm helping basically stand-up comedians sort of translate their act into a way, to monetize, to get like comedic acting jobs, because sometimes your act on stage, you have it sculpted a certain way, or maybe it's a lot bigger than the marketplace for TV and film. So I'm just kind of trying to help them get really in shape for that. And especially since it's pilot season. And that's been so fun. Like I was always scared to teach a little bit. Cause you're like, who am I? Who am I? But the more that I've done it, I love it. And I really do feel like I'm helping people. And I love the energy of the people I'm working with. And I really feel like all the right people are coming my way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're manifesting.
Totally manifesting.
A lot.
And then also for my online class, I have a special promo code, and the code is Willow. So if anybody wants to take my class online, you get 20% off.
That is so cool. I will, link it up in the show notes. And your website is MonikaCasey.com.
Yes, correct. Monika with a K, Casey with a C.
Got it. Okay. That is, love it. And would it pertain to, I guess it's LA focused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's LA focused. Okay. I mean, a dream of mine has always been to live in New York at some point. So I haven't done that yet. So I can't speak, to how it goes down in New York, but it's definitely like, if you just got to LA or you're thinking about moving to LA, it is so helpful because you can get yourself really set up before you even touch down here.
It's incredible. I mean, that is invaluable.
Yeah, totally.
It's like $1,000.
I know, right? I'm like, my parents spent so much on my education. I'm like, I wish they would have just sent me someplace that told me these things.
I know, it's so true. But and now, so the comedy is such. Oh my God! To me, that's like my biggest fear, to be honest. I mean, being on stage, in general, is that excitement, but a lot of fear.
Yeah.
How do you get courage?
Well, what definitely helps, and I tell even my students this, is if you know your set, which is your 5 minutes or your 10 minutes, if you've done theater, if you know your lines, that is like 75% of it. When you don't know what you're going to say and you don't trust yourself and you don't then have that confidence. That's not to say that the first time I did stand up, I was a sweaty, nervous wreck the whole day, like diarrhea. But somehow I was able to do it. And again, it's one of those moments where I had to run into the bathroom right before the show, look myself in the mirror and say, God damn it, Monika, you can do this, just believe in yourself for 5 seconds and trust that your whole set. And, obviously what helps too is before I did my first official show, I went to open mics, and open mics are, if anyone who doesn't know, lots of comedy clubs or even sort of private studios, offer open mics, and they're either free. Those ones, usually you have to get on a list and you could be waiting all night to go up. But most of them now, it's like $5. You reserve your time slot, you get 3 minutes, and you get to go up there with your notebook or whatever and say aloud or practice your jokes or your routine on a bunch of strangers. And basically what I learned is, mostly those rooms are a bunch of writers, and it's a lot of sometimes angry, competitive, bitter people. So they be warned, usually it's not a hot room of people ready to laugh, and they also haven't been drinking usually. But if you do get laughs when you're doing open mics, that's a really good sign that you're on the right path.
Okay. And you just did a bunch of those.
I did a class. I did Jerry Katzman's, and I also I Googled him. That was the first class I Googled after I had done the Groundlings, and I made it through the writing lab. And then when they were like, "We're done with you. Your time here is done," I was like, "Well, what's the next step for me? I want to do stand up." And I love taking classes when it's something I'm interested in because it also helps keep me accountable. I'm not the greatest if I don't sort of have goals or deadlines or things like that, or I'm paying for something. You will see, usually if you're paying for something, you'll work much harder at it than if you're not.
Yes.
Yeah,
totally.
And he had a really great way of, essentially showing us ways to write jokes and create a community, which is also what I love to do in my class. Like, the people you meet, you've got to create your own community and give and help each other and, bounce your jokes off each other. And then I went and also studied with Lisa Sunstedt at the Pretty Funny Women studio, and they call her like the comedy madam. So, I mean, it's, you just kind of bounce around. It's great to have different teachers or guides along your journey. And then it really helps you find your voice. And that's really what I wanted to do, is find my voice.
Yes. And so you have the mentorship with these, teachers, and find your voice, as in with any sort of personal brand, right? Like,
yeah, like, cause for so many comics, it's like, what's your perspective? Who is this person? There's a lot of people that like play the, like the loser that never like can date anyone, or the, so mine kind of, even before I was a housewife, I think was kind of like, a little bit of a sarcastic, sometimes snooty, but funny lady.
Yeah. Oh, you're hilarious for sure. Like, I think that it's the consistency.
Yeah, totally. And what's great about comedy is when people tell the truth about who they are on the dark parts of the inside of them. To me, that's what's the funniest. And as you're living life, that changes. Like, I'm not who I am or who I was, 10 years ago when I started doing stand-up. Like, when you watch, I think it's still on YouTube, like one of my first stand-ups, it was all about like, I was smoking a lot of weed then, and it was about my love affair with that and the pot dispensaries. And now, my set is more along the lines of like being a single mom in LA and, being divorced and what like that was like going through. So it's great when people let you in on their secrets. I think that's the funniest.
That's what people want.
Yeah.
The vulnerable side, right?
Yeah. I don't want to hear like your made up jokes about shit that didn't ever happen.
Yeah, exactly. Boring. And then what about I can call it an alter ego, Sasha Fierce kind of thing. Or do you have anything like that? Like, when you're going on an audition or doing comedy, anything, do you kind of tap into this, like a higher version of yourself?
Yeah, I don't have a name for that, but I know what you mean. Yeah, there's there's like a switch that has to flip. And it doesn't always flip. I'm getting better at it as I get older and do all of these things more. But yeah, it's something like you just kind of go into this super ultra focused zone where, like, if I'm going into like a really big audition for a network or something happens where, it's almost like playing a role of somebody else, that's way more confident than you are on a daily basis and way more together. And you just got to go in there and nail it, and even if you don't get it, you've gone in there and done like a presentation. I guess that's what I can think of it as like, is if you have a job and you have to give like a PowerPoint presentation or something like that.
Yeah. So you prepare pretty heavily for these roles or these auditions?
I do. I mean, I try to, give it as much time as I can. But, being a mom, sometimes it's like, oh my God, you can get an audition at 5 or 6:30 at night, sometimes later. And I'm like trying to figure out a way to get my kid ready for bed, but also learn the dialogue.
Oh my God. So the next day,
right?
The audition.
Yeah, it can. I mean, sometimes it's like tomorrow at 11, and that's what's the weird. Wow. You would think they would want to give us as actors more time to prepare, but that's just not the way this town works. Things happen so fast. Like a lot of like actor friends and I talk about it, like almost like it's a casino. You're gambling. You're just, you're playing, the slot machines, and it's just, and maybe the way to think about it is like, whoever can prepare faster wins. I don't know, but there's so many factors that go into why someone gets something. I mean, it doesn't always, go to the person who's the best actor. There's so many reasons. Even casting director friends of mine say, they don't even have hardly any pull. There's so many people in the mix, like the directors, the producers, the writers, then there's the network or whoever's financing the film. There's just so many things, but you can't take anything personal, and people ask me all the time, like, how do you deal with the rejection? And I go, actually, it's kind of great because nobody ever tells you no to your face or like, ew, we don't want you, or you didn't get it. You just never hear back.
So they don't even
they don't even let you know. It's like going out for drinks with someone and you're like, great, that was a nice evening. Thank you. Nice to meet you. And you go home and you never hear from them again. And it's totally cool. Like
what phases you these days?
I
mean, you have the theater, company, just
like what phases me?
Like what, because with time, confidence comes from doing.
Right.
So I'm just wondering if there, like, what is something that sort of stings?
Well, what definitely stings is when you prepare and you really feel, and like I do a lot of visualizations sometimes with certain projects that I'm auditioning for. And it hurts really bad sometimes when you get really far and really close to something and then you don't get it because you see it in your mind and you feel it emotionally. And so it feels real, like it's happening. And then when it doesn't happen, you're like, but no, it did happen. It's happening in my soul and my mind. So that, that can be a hard blow. And sometimes it feels a little bit like a breakup. And I try to have little rules with myself where like, I of course always, feel things, be sad about it, but you can't let it linger too soon because there's something else always right around the corner. And I try to use my, community of actors or friends that I can reach out to. And I kind of have this thing where I'm like, okay, I can vent for 3 minutes. So I'll usually call someone that I know and ask and I'll ask permission. I mean, sometimes it spills out, but I say it's 3. Like when I would call you and be like, Willow, and I ask permission, like, can I vent to you about this for 3 minutes? And then you would say yes. And I would go, bleh, and I would just vent.
Yeah. That's huge to have that. You need that.
And then I have to let it go. And the best ways for me to let go of things is I have to do things like self-love for myself, whether that is taking my dogs for a walk or going for a hike or going to a yoga class or meditating and trying to just refill that sort of bank of positive energy and thoughts to keep moving forward.
Yes. You sound like you do a lot of NLP without maybe even doing it.
Totally.
Yeah. It's all, the visualization, the feeling it, because our subconscious mind, I just learned this, so I'm kind of, nerding out on all this, but our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined.
I know.
So it's insane. So so you're imagining it happening. Your body's like, this is already happening. So it could be that it's confusing probably.
Yeah,
when
it is. It's a bit of a letdown, like a little dash of postpartum. So I mean, and what's I guess hard about that is, I really believe that you either have your own sort of survival warehouse in your soul, I guess, or you don't. And so, it's like no one can help you do it. No partner or friend can help you keep going and keep refueling all that. It's really up to you and the more, like with anything, the more you do it and work that muscle, just the better you are at it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a constant now that I'm really aware of this stuff now, kind of circling back to, a lot of these things where I sort of let them go. You can say for a while. And I'm like, it is a constant every single day battle and not necessarily a negative one, but it takes a lot to keep it.
Yeah. It's like maintenance. You're just constantly doing maintenance on, whatever this inner vessel, is.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're a mom, which you are now a single mom.
Yeah.
And do you have 50-50?
We,
Kind of.
I kind of, we have our own, we were able to work out our own deal. So we're kind of, I'd say because my ex is also an actor, the one good thing that we're able to do is just help each other out, like if I have an audition or he does, but it was somebody's day or time that day, it's like we really try to help the other person out and not make it a big deal. So, that definitely makes things easier. And, I'm not somebody like my parents probably would have left me with whoever, growing up, raised by wolves. So I don't let a lot of people just, stay with my daughter. So yeah, it's definitely, it's interesting. So our schedule changes, week to week because,
I was going to say, it's so unpredictable.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's such a weird, unpredictable business. And sometimes they say it's like feast or famine. Like I may not have an audition for like a week or two, and then you've got 3 in one day. And you're like, shit, I've got to use every like compartment in my brain to like focus and get it done.
And well, you said something earlier about that there's always something around the corner.
Yeah.
That there's always something that's next. And that is, I think it's a belief, that you're like, it's coming.
Yeah.
More things are happening, the more. So what is your take on like diving into the unknown?
Yes. So I think, like the strongest thing that we all have, I think is, our belief in what is coming to us or for us. And I'm a big user of vision boards. And I'm constantly adding or taking things off of mind if things change. And also like we talked about having gratitude, like I love to say out loud, or I put Post-its up in my car or on mirrors or all around my house, giving gratitude for things that haven't happened yet, but they're things that I want to bring into my life, whether it's a job or something else. And just again, like the law of attraction, I think the more you focus on these things and visualize them, that like, I heard this term once before, and I don't know if it was from, this is so LA. I don't know if it was from The Secret or Deepak Chopra, but it was basically like the world is one big dream machine. And if you desire something or want it, the universe is always working, trying to give it to you. Like it's your birthright to have happiness and have abundance and all of these things. And so, it's trying to get it to you. We just have to practice being really specific. And sometimes it doesn't look like what you want it to be, but I really believe in that.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you just throw a bunch of shit out there or it, more superficial, maybe it's really hard, I think, for the universe, to kind of serve it up to you.
Yeah. And even if it is superficial, be specific about what you want. Like I want a black blah, 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 blah with, whatever you want.
That's very true. And what do you, you say C+ mom. Curious, like as
I say C+ is more of a joke because there are some days where I'm a C+ mom for sure. It's like I guess I never really thought I wanted kids, and my daughter was definitely like a surprise. And so because I think there was that fear inside of me of loving something so much. And so I think for me, I just really try to be such a good parent to her in a way that I feel like maybe I wasn't parented. But even no matter how hard you try to be like a perfect parent to someone, there's just days where you just fuck up. You just can't.
Oh my God.
It's like I've at least this school year forgotten her lunch twice. and had to like go, but again, she wins when I forget, because I'll go to like Mendocino Farms and like she'll get this like fancy lunch in her cubby, you know? But like there's, you know, or like there was like a time where like she was like dead set on like going to this birthday party, and I had the birthday party in my calendar on my phone. And the morning of the birthday party, I just had it set in my mind that the party wasn't till noon, and we were just dilly-dallying all morning. And she's like, Mom, when are we going to Alexander's birthday? And I was like, oh, not till noon, honey, not till noon. And then as we're getting ready, I check my phone for something and I see that like the party ends at noon and we've like totally missed it. And you just get that horrible asshole sinking feeling like, God, I just let my kid down. But, you know, that's life. And I'm sure those are the times, you know, and if I own it and talk to her about why we missed it and it's my fault and I'm sorry and, you know, all those things, you know, life isn't perfect. And it's hard because it's hard to like balance being a parent that doesn't give them everything, but also, you know, spoils them just enough, you know, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So
you said you didn't want children. So your vision when you were thinking, like you were not
never.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about marriage?
A marriage? No.
Like, did you like dreaming of that?
No, I always imagined being like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. Like I imagined having a partner. I always loved the couples that weren't married. I was like, they're cool.
It's so hipster.
Yeah, exactly. So I always imagined like being with someone for a long time. But I also I think I grew up thinking that if you had a career that like kids ruined it or put a wrench in it. And that was just a story that I told myself for so many years. Even when I got pregnant, like I had just like done a TV show and I was like, oh, great, Monica. What a great way to self-sabotage this. You know, go get knocked up. Why don't you? You know? And I was just so mad at myself for a little while. And then it's funny because I realized like you want what you want, whether you have kids or not. And so even when I was pregnant, like I did some like pregnancy print work and like I, you know, I obviously like enjoyed being pregnant and like focused on that and stuff, but like I was creative in other ways. And then the minute I felt well enough after I had her, it was like I went into like producing another movie. And so if you seek it out, you know, it's going to find you. It's really if you decide to give up. And I don't know if there was like a fear that I would lose myself after being a mom, or, you know, I guess we just create these stories in our head, but it's actually, I feel like, you know, made me want what I want even more. So, and also to show her as a positive example.
Definitely. And does she look up to you and want to be just like mommy?
I think so. Like, I don't think she really knows what she knows. She knows that mommy auditions a lot. She's like, oh, and she knows, it's so funny. She knows all the terminology. Like she could probably be a producer today. Like she, you know, she's like, I've got to learn my lines. And so when I'm rehearsing with someone, she really wants like a turn afterwards, and she listens to, you know, everything. Kids listen. So she'll take my sides or my dialogue, my papers, and she'll then want to rehearse with me or someone else. And she can learn my lines faster than I can. It's so funny. Like, so she, and she's definitely growing up in that weird age of where I don't let her watch it a lot, but there's like kids on YouTube that have their like shows playing with toys or all the weird, stupid stuff they do. And so the camera is not a foreign thing to her. And for me, starting out in LA, that was harder for me, was this camera in the room. Like, cause I was also so used to doing theater and performing in front of live audience. And then when you have this black mechanical box sitting there, it was weird. And, you know, kids today, they're just growing up with camera in their face at all times, you know, access to one every 5 seconds. So, and it's funny because even a lot of my students in my class who are a lot younger than me when I talk about nerves and stuff, it's almost like they don't have the level of nerves that I thought they would or that I had at their stage of the game, because they're just selfieing all the time and like Instagramming from the time that they can remember. So it's like they kind of have this little advantage. I'm a little bit jealous.
Because you're right. Everything is broadcasted. So they're like,
it's so crazy. And she knows that mommy goes to do shows. And unfortunately, like a lot of things I do are not child appropriate. So she hasn't seen a lot of things I've done, but some stuff she's seen. Or my favorite is when she's watching TV and she'll be like, "Oh, mommy, that's you." And it's not me. It's somebody else. And I'm like, "Well, mommy wishes that was me." It's so funny.
That is adorable. And you don't really post anything about her. So you're definitely keeping her.
Yeah. My ex and I have an agreement not to share. I just don't think it's wise. I share private, it's like, look, I'll text or email close people to us that I want to see it. And I do get bummed out because I feel like I see everyone else's kids all the time. And there's definitely times where I'm like, God, I wish I could share this. But I feel like ultimately, like, they don't have a choice when we share. And I just want to, keep her, private and it's probably not always the safest thing to do. So that's just, so I'm glad that he and I agree on that.
Mm-hmm. And then technology is, you're going to withhold as long as possible.
Yeah, I'm trying. I mean, look, I need her to sometimes watch TV so I can do the dishes and prep for the next day.
I'm like a cell phone.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah, it's funny. She totally already is like, "Can I have a phone?" And she says stuff like, "I just want it so I can take pictures," because she loves when I give her my phone, I let her go to town and just take pictures. Yeah. And so, and luckily my ex and I talk about it and he's like, like just yesterday, he was like, she told me she wants like an iPad for her birthday. And I was like, no, thank you. We're not doing that. I said, you can buy her a toy that looks like an iPad or something, but we're not, she's going to be going into kindergarten. And I mean, I'll be one of those parents that's if it takes bribery, whatever it takes to like hold her off the longest, I'm going to try.
Yeah.
Like I can't even imagine like having Instagram as a kid. Like, I mean, there's so much, like our high school was, we went to school in California. So I feel like that's already kind of advanced and scary. And I can't imagine. Yeah. Like I would be mortified. There's so many things I'm glad that we're never able to go online that were said or done.
Oh my God. I can't, when I think about it, I'm horrified, actually.
Horrified.
And so grateful.
Yes,
too.
I know. God, it's like if I look through an old shoebox of stuff and like some old like pictures that I had to pay to get developed somewhere pop up, it's like, oh my God, I need to like hide these from her as long as I can.
Yeah. Oh my God. And so what is, you have so many projects going right now. What's a standout project?
For me, so I created a show with some close friends of mine about my experience when I was getting divorced. And I ended up moving in with a stranger, a woman that I had like just met in a writing class. And I stayed with her for a few months before I got on my feet and found a place. And that relationship was just so funny. And it was like a total odd couple situation. And so basically my friends and I, we wrote a pilot and we shot a pilot presentation. And so now we're really just working out the kinks and getting all that finalized and then getting ready to pitch it for networks to sell. Yeah. And it's really funny. And I shot a pilot presentation with Margaret Cho, who is like a dream comedy god that I've always loved. So I got to work with her on that. And so the ultimate dream and goal for this is that it sells to a really fun, either streaming or network, and that she and I get to be these two women for a couple seasons.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So it's your story during that time post divorce. And so is everything in it pretty true, like close to real?
It's pretty close.
life?
Yeah. Like I obviously tweaked some things for comedy's sake and obviously to, you know, be kind ish. So yeah, like the character, my husband in the story is like a baseball player and I'm one of those sort of Real Housewife characters. And so we, you know, we made some funny changes.
Okay. I was curious if you called him out at all.
I mean, you can tell when you see who the character is, they'll be like, oh, I can see where maybe there's some truth in here. Yeah. And same for me, you know, I made sort of an exaggerated version of my personality, but a lot of it is me. And it's funny to watch or read it because you're like, oh God, is that really how I am? But it kind of is, you know? So yeah.
Oh, I cannot wait to see this. It's going.
Yeah. I'll send you you can watch the short
pilot. So you have a pilot.
Yeah.
20 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it's about 20. And then so basically, you know, you send a sizzle reel of that to executives. If they want to watch more, they can watch the whole thing. And then you just go into these rooms and kind of like stand up, you pitch the idea of the show to them. And, you know, obviously because it's based on my story, you know, you're hoping that they're like, cool, this sounds good. Let's do it.
Yep.
In a nutshell.
I mean, in a nutshell. And then, okay, so this is what's on the, just like
this is the main giant piece on the vision board.
You must have a massive vision board if you keep adding to it.
Totally.
You know.
Yeah. I know. I'm going to have, just double. I'll have one on every wall.
Yeah. So you look at yours because I've always tucked them away.
Yes.
Like
so I did. I used to, like when I lived with someone, you know, I always kind of hid it. It would be like up in my closet because you feel whatever stupid feeling, you know, embarrassed or whatever. And it really sucks that we even feel that. And so one of the beauty things of living alone is, you know, and what I love too, though, is my daughter knows what it is now. And this year was the first year that she made one with me. Oh. And that was really cool. So I feel like I'm teaching her all these badass things so early on.
Yes.
But yeah, so I have it in my room. I can just lay in bed and stare at it. And it's funny, last year, one day, out of nowhere, my vision board just fell off the wall. And I was like, oh my God, what does that mean? And I called, you know, one of my friends that we talk about all this stuff. And she was like, Monika, that means you're neglecting you're not giving it enough attention. And I was like, oh my God, you're so right. You know, so I have to, it's like, I nerd out. Yeah. Like I'll stand in front of it. I'll touch things on it and just really try to like check in with it daily to just keep it all there.
Totally. I love hearing all this because there's so much behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Pun
Totally.
Because you're just to create the life that you've created. I mean, again, you have not taken the easy path. You have been blazing it. I mean, really just through many different projects, a marriage, you know, a child. Yeah. What are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of the fact that I'm still here, that I haven't given up, you know, because I don't know, you know, everybody like measures their success differently. And for me, sometimes it's like, if I've done more things creatively than I did the year before, you know, it's not always a dollar amount. Some years are better than others. But yeah, I think I'm just most proud of that. I didn't kind of give up on myself. I've shown up. I'm showing up for myself. I'm parenting. I'm parenting myself, Willow.
You are. It's incredible to watch. Yeah. And do you think, I mean, can you have it all? These, you know, women these days.
I think you can, but I've said this, I don't know where I heard this, but it kind of, you know, sometimes I feel like maybe not all at the same time. But, but I think you can have it all. Again, you just believe in yourself and you keep, you know, you have healthy boundaries and you don't settle. And, you really can have it all. I don't know if it's all at the same time, but I will let you know if one day I'm like, I'm going to call you and be like, Willow, it's happening. It's all at the same time. Maybe it only lasts for a week, but
you have
yeah.
it. Yeah. You've got it going on for sure.
Totally.
And so where can we see you? I mean, we can find, so throw out some of your handles.
So my Instagram is the Monika Casey. I am on Jeff Lewis Live. I'll be on this week on Thursday on Radio Andy, SiriusXM, channel 102. I do, stand up around town, and usually I'll throw something up on an Insta story here and there. And that's,
And you're, yeah. Fresh off the boat.
Yeah. My website, monikacasey.com. I've got free videos on there from actor panels that I've done where people talk about how they got their SAG cards and what it means to be ready in this town. And I had some really great friends let me interview them for those. So I'll kind of rotate those monthly different questions that they'll be answering.
So cool.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you hopped on here and shared your story. I have not talked to you for 20 years.
I know.
That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts. It makes a big difference for visibility. And even better, share this episode with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode every other Wednesday. If you're interested in working together to elevate your online presence, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me on Instagram at whereiswillow. I also hang out on LinkedIn, Willow McDonough. Until then, cheers to carving your own fucking path. I love you.